right. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming and joining us. I hope you'll find this entertaining. I call this presentation Bookmaking and the Art of Making a Photo Book. The reason why I call it the art of is because in my long history of photography, I've never really been interested in just taking a photograph. If I need to document something, I'm willing to use a point-and-shoot camera or my phone. I'm looking at creating a piece of art. That's what I've always been interested in. That's what moves me with photography. Bookmaking has been around almost as long as man has. You know, they've been writing on charcoal on rocks long ago. The main way of documenting something going all the way back to the Egyptians and even before was on a piece of papyrus, on a scroll or a roll. You'd have to read it and unroll it, and it was kind of cumbersome. During the first century, the Romans developed something called the Codex. And the reason it was an improvement over is because it actually bound pages together along one of the edges. Then it had wooden covers, and it was easier to handle. You didn't have to unroll the whole document to go to a different page, and it was also better protection for the contents, right? From tradition to photographic heirlooms, bookbinding eventually intersected with photography. As photography became more widespread, people looked at different ways to preserve and display their images. Some people did, they turned to the handcrafted methods used for centuries to create books. And today we continue this legacy by using these time-honored techniques to create our own photographic heirlooms. It's a craft you'll be learning in this chapter with me, bringing together the art of photography with the craft of bookbinding to tell your unique stories. I have always been interested in finding a way to display my photographs in a meaningful way. Back in the 1970s when I was traveling, I had a number of diaries that I put together, and it was a way to kind of remember my travels, but also a way to insert some of my drawings and photographs. And so this was probably my earliest attempt at making a book. Next, I think it was 1975, Kim and I started a series of books called A Man and a Woman on Vacation. And this one here happens to be from Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. And again, it was a way to find some photographs to showcase my photography, to use it to illustrate some things. And the great fun was getting to put together a whole book of my images. We did a number of these. Probably our best one was this one here, A Man and a Woman on Vacation, or an adventure in Sumatra. By the way, it almost got published. Lonely Planet was looking at it for a while. They finally reneged on it, but still, I'm very proud of the way that this book turned out. I think it was one of our best books. The premise of the books, A Man and a Woman, was that Kim would write about how she perceived an event or a day that we went through, and I would do the same, and you can compare the difference between how a man and a woman did it. Probably my most lucrative book was, we used to do art shows. We recently just stopped doing them. And in the early days, 37 years ago, Michael's Arts and Crafts store had a book called Where It's At. And it actually told you where all the arts and crafts and where all the art shows were. That's how we started. That's how we picked our art shows to do out of the book. And after a number of failed attempts, 4 or 5, I joked that I wanted to create a book called Where It Ain't. Just tell me where not to go, because it's a huge loss of money and time and resources to go to a show where you're only going to make a couple $100 or something. You can't make a living at that. Eventually, as we became more successful and found the good shows, I found there was a lack of knowledge, a lack of way for artists to find good quality shows, and I developed this book, 25 Best Texas Shows plus 25 more, 50 shows in all, and I sold it for, 20 years. In fact, I used the proceeds from this book to pay for all my printers, all my photography gear, all my trips. It was, I couldn't have made a living just selling it, but it was good enough to support my photography habit, right? Some of you who saw the last presentation I did from Maine saw that I found a way to display my images that I would show at our print competition. 13 by 19 is what my printer did. So I got this loose leaf book, where I could insert my pictures in it, and when we traveled, we got to show them off and give away some of them to some people who really enjoyed them. So Russell Graves presented to us, I think it was last year. He's a nature photographer in North Texas, and a really interesting guy and a great photographer and just a wonderful presenter. He says, for many, seeing your images in print is the ultimate goal. Believe me, I know, even after having thousands of pictures published in books, magazines, and commercial campaigns, I still get the same old feeling every time I see one of my images in print. And that's how I feel. I love to print my images for the print competition. I love to put them up on my walls. I love to give them away. I love to sell them when that's possible. And now I love putting them in books. Right? There's a number of different ways that you can come up with a book. You can make a book the brand new way automatically. There's software and websites that will just put together the whole thing for you. Shutterfly is a really famous one. Here's, for example, a hard-covered photo book. It's 12 by 12, 20 pages, $100 on sale for $50, right? Here's another site that a lot of people use, Mixbook. They make coffee table books, and here's a full photo travel book, they call it. It's 8.5 by 11, 20 pages again. It's usually $50. It's on sale for $25. So, you really can't beat that. I don't know if some of you know that there is a book module that comes with Lightroom that will, again, automatically make a book for you. You drag your images in that you're interested in, you tell it how big you want it, and how big the book's going to be, how big you want your photos, you can add text and everything, and you can actually create the whole book, and you can save it as a PDF, which you can send to a publisher, or you can actually upload it right to a person. I think that they're aligned with a firm called Blurb, which I've actually never heard of, but they would print your book, or you could print it yourself, right? So the one thing that all of these have in common is you have to have a way to organize your photos if you're going to make a photo book. I use Lightroom Classic. I have used it ever since they came out, and I use a date-based organization for all my photos. There's a lot of controversy about why you don't need to do a date-based organization. However, it's what I've used. It's what works for me, so that's what I use. When I import my images, I have Lightroom automatically make a folder to dump those images in with the date that the images were created, right? I do not rename my images. I leave them the original file names out of the camera. For me, I find that it's too confusing to have derivatives of the same photo with different names on them. So what I do, however, rename the folders. So I'll leave the date, but I'll add a meaningful name. And the reason I say this is because when I was going to do this book, my theme for it was going to be Mystic, Connecticut, right? Book's called Into the Mystic. And all I had to do was do a search right here on Mystic, right? And I came up with all these different folders. Here's 2011, Trip to Mystic, 2012, Nantucket in Mystic, 2016. And so I had all these photos. I also use the star rating really loosely. So any photo that I think is worth it, I give a 3-star. I don't mess around with 1-star, 2-star, 5 stars. I just give it a 3-star if it's interesting to me. So I could further sort my images by not only the word mystic for the folders, but also on 3 stars. All right. So after that, you can find the pictures that are interesting to you, and you could make a collection. Right down here, you can see I've got 2025 Mystic photo collection, photo album collection. You just create that under the collection heading in Lightroom, and then you drag whichever photo you think is interesting to you, and I usually drag more than I need, into the folder as a way to kind of sort through them and put them in order. You can rearrange things in the collections, and you can change things. Personally, I find printing it out to be much easier. So I take these and then I make a thumbnail of them, and I print them out like this. And it's, for me, it's much easier for me to go through these and mark them up. And this one here is number 4, then this is going to be number 5. This is number 43. And so for me, this works a lot easier. Right? So, okay, let's make a photo book by hand. That's what we all came for, right? In terms of resource, there are an incredible amount of people who are willing to tell you everything you need to know to make a book. I'm a great big YouTube user. I even give them $5 a month so that I don't have to watch the commercials. That's how much I use it. And so, you know, here's step-by-step case for binding your book. Here's a do-it-yourself photo book. How to use InDesign to print your book. On and on. 5-minute ink transfers for beginners for your covers. And so I relied on a lot of this information. I did a lot of research before I actually even started doing it. There's a lot of people on YouTube that will tell you exactly how to lay out your book, and even sell you or give you templates on how to do it. The first thing, however, you have to decide is how big will your printer print, right? Because you're going to fold the sheet in half, and that's going to be the size of your finished page. The next thing you need to decide is what kind of paper you use. I use Red River a lot. I went to their site. They make 8 different double-sided photo paper, which is what I needed. And what I did is I bought a sample of each one, and I printed out the same images, black and white and color, on each sheet as a way of determining which paper I wanted to use. Right? And I settled on 50-pound premium matte double-sided paper. Here's 8.5 by 11. It's 32 cents a sheet, and here's 13 by 19. It's 92 cents each. I decided that first I was going to print a 8.5 by 11 folded in half book, and then go on to my 13 by 19 book. So I ordered 50 pages of each. 50 pound premium matte double-sided paper is a professional ink jet paper. It's extra thick. It's good for doing portfolios, books, presentations. It has a smooth surface, non-reflective, and bright white. And to my way of thinking, I liked it the best of any of the even more expensive papers that they had. So that's the one I decided to go with. Some of the tools that you need for bookbinding, it's really not that much. You need a good quality sharp X-Acto knife to cut the pages down. You need a bone fit to be able to crease the paper. You need an awl to be able to puncture holes in it, a brush to apply glue, a ruler, a really nice one, a corkback ruler so it doesn't slip around, a heavy cutting mat, which some of you might or might not have, and some heavy weight to put on top of it. All told, it's about $75 in tools, and of course these will last you for the whole duration of making the book. In terms of materials, you need some PVA glue. It's kind of a white glue, kind of like an Elmer's glue, only a little more elastic, and it's kind of the industry standard, what most people use, unless you go really, really old school, and then they make their own. You need book cloth for covers. Book cloth is a special paper. It has cloth on one side and it has kind of an impervious barrier on the other side, so that when you glue it, the glue doesn't seep through onto the cloth. You need some mold. It's basically some mesh that you're going to use to reinforce the edge of the book. You need headbands. I'll show you this later on. You need a hard paper, a book board for covers. It's extra thick, extra sturdy, and doesn't really bend or warp, so it's worth buying it. You need some needles and thread. You need something inside sheets that are decorative. I chose to use just black. Here it is. Here's the inside sheet here, and then this other sheet that's glued to the back of it. So, and then of course you need your paper, right? It was 32 cents each. You need 16 sheets for making the whole book that I did. So it's $5.12. You need 16 sheets of 13 by 19 if you're going to make the other book, $14.76, and about $10 for ink. If I use generic ink, as I always have. I've been using it for 20 years. A lot of people like to use real Canon or real Epson ink, and I'm sure that price would double. But now you're looking at about $115 and $75 in tools, and at the minimum, this will get you 8.5 by 11 book and a 13 by 19 book. Right? You're going to print these things out and make what they call signatures. It's not a signature like you write on a thing. It's a signature that your pages are folded in half and one inserted in another. There's usually somewhere between 3, 4, or 5 sheets, depending on the thickness, that are inserted. Here's the confusing part, and this is what trips up a lot of people. When you're going to fold it in half, the first page has your image on the right. You can see number 1, but on the left, that's page 16, which is the last in your signature, the last in your folded signature. And then the next page, on the inside of the first page, you have page 2 on the left, page 15 on the right, and then your next one is page 3 on the right. So it can get really confusing. Fortunately, there's software, and I'll show you this, that kind of handles this for you. Right? So I wanted to do my own layout. I've been using InDesign, Adobe InDesign, for many, many years. This happens to be CS3 from 2007. I have no desire to upgrade whatsoever. I don't need any of the new upgrades or anything. I probably only use 10% of what this will do, and I've done whole books using it. So here's some 13 by 19 paper folded in half with a 1-inch border. And this is the simple layout that I did. Here's my first inside page. The great thing about a desktop publisher like InDesign, some of you know, some of you don't know, is that it puts each of your elements in a block. So Into the Mystic is one, photographs in and around Mystic, Connecticut are another, the image is another one. So you can move them and resize them independently of each other. You can center them all. It's a great way to do it. If you don't want to use a desktop publisher, you can use Word or maybe Google Docs. I know you can. It's a little more difficult, a little more convoluted to get around, and I'm happy to use this old school. When you do your book, here's page 2, here's page 3. You laid out just in order that you want it to be. 4 and 5, 6 and 7, 8 and 9 are the centerfold. In other words, you've got the 4 sheets inserted in each other. When you open it up, this is the center. So I think it makes sense to do one image that spans both sides. And then here you go. Here's the rest of the sheets, and then here's page 16, which is your last sheet. Right? When you save it, you save it by signature. Here I've got a Mystic book, 12 by 19, signature 1, signature 2, signature 3, 4, and a folder for just my book cover. Inside each one of those is the InDesign separate file with all the pictures and all the instructions for printing it out. Then the crucial thing here is when you print it not to your printer, but you print it to a Adobe PDF, right? And the PDF is the highest quality that you can get. It's called the print PDF, and it prints as well as an InDesign file would by itself, or as a high quality JPEG. So you're going to print that. You're going to print range 1 through 16. Remember, there's 16 pages, and you're going to do book type 2 up saddle stitch. That's the trick right there. When you pick that right there, this helps organize your whole book. And so you're going to save each one of the signatures as a PDF, signature 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to also have the cover, which I don't have shown here. And when you open up the PDF, you're going to see it's because you did that 2 up saddle stitch. Here's page 16 and here's page 1. Here's page 2 and page 15. Here's page 14 and 5, etc. Here's the center fold going all the way. Now you're going to take that PDF and now you're going to print it to your paper. And the easiest way to do this is to print. You're going to print out the 1 through 4. There's only 4 pages you're going to print because you're going to print the odd pages only. Because my printer does not automatically flip around and do the double-sided thing. So I print the odd pages, page 1 through 4, and then I flip it over and print the same as even pages. Here's the odd pages being printed first, and then flip over the sheets and then print the even sheets. Right? You're going to get a whole pile of flat paper. You're going to take that paper and you're going to fold each in half as a signature, right? And then you're going to insert the first 4 into them to make your first signature, and then on and on. Here you're making a template for the holes that you're going to punch in the paper for your stitching. Most people do them about 1 inch apart. Here's me with my little, I think I have this right here. Here's me with my little template here. I'm just going to insert it. And I'll put the top up. I'm just going to insert it into my signature, and then I'm going to use my awl, like shown in the drawing, to puncture holes through the edge of the paper, right? And here's a little fancy machine that will kind of hold it in place. Here's another fancy machine. Here's a kind of a replica cardboard cut out of it. I just went, again, old school and just held it in place and punctured holes in the paper. It'll look like this when you're all done. Here's my 4 signatures that I did with the holes punched in them. Then you're going to take a needle and thread, and you're going to sew in and out, in and out. There are all kinds of fancy stitches that you can get into, but the easiest is just to go in and out, until you get to the end. Then you add the next signature, and you basically go in it and you do the same thing, looping it into one of your other signatures. We don't need to go into the whole sewing process, but believe me, it's kind of zen and fairly easy to do. When you get done, this is what your book is going to look like, all bound up, right? Just like that. It's a little puffy. You want it to be as flat as possible, right? So you're going to put it in a press. If you happen to have one of these old-time book presses, you can use that. If not, you can just use 2 sheets of plywood, or in lieu of that, you can just use a couple of bricks. Here, this guy happens to have covered his bricks in wrapping paper, I guess to keep the dirt of the bricks off the things, right? You could even go less high-tech and use just a couple spring clamps with a couple pieces of book board to hold your whole thing together. You're then going to take this PVA glue with a brush, and you're going to brush it over the whole spine of the book, just covering up all the stitching. Let it dry. It dries in about an hour. I usually leave mine for 2 hours. Some people leave it overnight. Then these little, what do they call them? Book, I can't remember the name of it. Headbands, right? On my first book, this one that I did, I actually made my own headband out of a toothpick and folding over a piece of fabric. But on the subsequent books, I just decided I wanted to have the nice looking headband like he's got. So I bought them. They weren't that much money, and I think they really add to the book. They kind of cover up the edge of the pages and give it a kind of professional look. After that dries, you're going to add this maul or bookbinding cloth. It's really just kind of cheesecloth, which you're going to glue on the outside of the book, just like that. And when you're all done, you get this book that's completely put together, and the only thing it's lacking is a cover. One of the things that happens because you insert one page in the other, they're not even. And like on this first book that I didn't do anything to it, and it's kind of hard to see on the thing, but they're really kind of all chopped up, and they really don't line up very well. So this little machine here trims the pages and makes them nice and flat. You can use one of these guys and build it, I guess, or buy it. There's also guillotines and stuff that will cut it off, but I just decided to go the old low-tech way and just use a trimmer with a ruler, and I think the books actually came out pretty good when I trimmed them like that. Some people will take sandpaper and sand the edges of it with a sandpaper and a book block. Kind of depends on your taste, right? It does take practice to cut it and not move the ruler, but it's something anybody can do. The next one is the inside covers for the book. You need to have a cover here for your first page, and one that will cover up your book cover that you make, as you'll see later on. So once it's all put together, you have the mull, the binding cloth here, you have the book cover, and then the book, and it's all put together ready to work on the cover. This one does take a little bit of practice to get the right size, but again, there are tons of videos out there that'll tell you just exactly how much bigger it needs to be, how much space you need to make at the end, and then you cut this book cardboard that you buy, and when in the end you'll have inside cover, outside cover, and a spine there, and then you're going to use some book cloth to glue on top of these. And this guy here is using a kind of a reverse thing where he's using like a Mod Podge to transfer his image to the sheet. And when he got all done, it looked like this. I decided that I would just use my printer to print it. So the 8.5 by 11 I could run through my 13 by 19 printer and print. But when I got to the 13 by 19 cover, I couldn't. So what I did is I did a little strip here of black book cloth, and then had this piece separately on there, and that way I could run it through my printer. And that does take a little bit of a challenge because the paper is not flat; it's kind of curled up. But again, you can do it, and here it is, the back cover. So you can glue the book board to the covers, leaving like approximately a 1-inch gap. Trim the edges so that you can fold it over, and then glue it using the same PVA glue. Fold it over so you can make some nice corners here, right? And then insert your finished book and apply glue to the inside book cover, then glue it to the outside book cover, right, covering up all the seams that you have around the book. And when you're all done, you wind up with a finished book, or 2 or 3 or 5, right? And you can go as old school as you want. Here's some techniques for making a really old school book. You get all your signatures together. You clamp them in a press. Use a hacksaw to put grooves in there, right? Here's the finished grooves. You use this little machine with these cords that you're then going to stitch around, going through the holes in the signature and around these cords. Then you're going to use that same trimmer for trimming your paper flat. Get a nice piece of leather for your cover, and kind of apply glue. And here you can see those little ropes that they use for binding the book, and fit it around these ropes. Use your fid to kind of smooth the edging out. Here he's using some string to make sure that when this dries, he has some nice indentations from the mark. Glue your cover on. Use some tools for modeling it. Apply a nice coating, maybe a few more decorative things, and you find up with the book. So, ta-da! That's the end of the presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. If there are any questions, just let me know. And